Try to see how we can convert these sentences into conditional type 3. Let's start with the first one. She didn't invite me to her birthday party. I didn't attend. Of course, this is the cause, and this is the effect. Now let's look at the tense. Again, here you have simple past negative. The same thing, here you have simple past negative. Now let's start with F. Now F, now we, of course, write the subject, if she. Now, simple past negative becomes past perfect affirmative. So if she had invited me to her birthday party, comma, here simple past becomes conditional perfect. First negative, affirmative. I would have attended. Let's again try to compare this with the definition we talked about earlier on. Of course, this is what happened. She didn't invite me, and as a result, I didn't attend. Now we just imagine what would have happened if another action was fulfilled. What would have happened if she had invited me? I would have attended. But because she didn't invite me, I didn't attend. Now let's look at sentence 2. I didn't know you were coming. I didn't meet you at the airport. I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't meet you at the airport. Of course, this is again called, this is effect. Let's try again to hypothesize or to fancy what would have happened if I had known you were coming. So, if I had known you were coming, comma, here, this is what would have happened. I would have met you at the airport. If I had known you were coming, I would have met you at the airport. But again, I didn't know you were coming, and so I didn't meet you at the airport. Let's look at 3. He caught coronavirus. Why? Because he wasn't cautious enough. If you look at this complex sentence, I use the conjunction because, which means that this is the cause. And of course, this is the effect. Let's start again with F. Again. What would have happened if he had been cautious enough? He wouldn't have caught coronavirus. So let's write if he, of course, if plus the cause, if he had been cautious enough, he wouldn't have caught coronavirus. Example 4. Iman wrote a wonderful poem, so she won the school prize. Let's again try to ask the question. What would have happened if she hadn't written a wonderful poem? Of course, if she hadn't written a wonderful poem, she wouldn't have got the school prize. But what happened is this. She wrote a wonderful poem and she won the school prize. If Iman hadn't written a wonderful poem, comma, she wouldn't have won the school prize. Now let me recapitulate. She didn't invite me to her birthday party, so I didn't attend. Now, what would have happened if she had invited me to her birthday party? I would have attended. Again, I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't meet you at the airport. Now, what would have happened if I had known you were coming? I would have met you at the airport. He caught coronavirus. Why? Because he wasn't cautious enough. Now, what would have happened if he had been cautious enough? He wouldn't have caught coronavirus. Same thing for question 4, or sentence 4, sorry. Iman wrote a wonderful poem, so she won the school prize. What would have happened if she hadn't written a wonderful poem? She wouldn't have won the school prize. Now let's look at the form of conditional type theory. Let's base our explanation on this example. If you had paid attention, you would have understood. Talking here about a situation in the classroom. You didn't pay attention in the class, so you didn't understand the lesson. Now, you have if plus, of course, this is subject, you, plus this, had paid. This is past perfect. Past perfect. Of course, this is just a word coming after. Now, the next clause is the main clause. As you see, it starts with subject plus would plus have. This is past participle plus past participle of the main verb. Now let's look at this sentence. It's the same as the one above. I just inverted it. I started with the main clause and I end with the if clause. So we have a subject again. Subject plus would. Could be would or could or might. Would plus have plus past participle. Now, plus if. This is if. And then if is followed by subject, followed by past perfect. Past perfect. Of course, attention on another word. So this is the form of the conditional type theory. If plus subject plus past perfect plus something else. This is the if clause. Of course, as you see, there is a comma. You separate the two clauses with a comma when you start with F. And the main clause starts with subject, then would, as I said, or could, or might, or should. It depends on the situation. Plus have, plus past participle. Model plus have plus past participle is called conditional perfect. If you choose to start with the main clause, it looks like this. Subject plus model plus have plus past participle, it means subject plus conditional perfect, plus if, now this is the if clause, plus subject plus past perfect, and something if the sentence is still long. So this is the form of conditional type 3. Practice with conditional type 3. Complete the sentences begin with the words given. She didn't go to school as she was sick. Of course, here, if you look at the word as, it means because, which means that this is the cause and this is the effect. Right. This condition happens after this. She didn't go to school. Why? Because she was sick. Let's now start with if she hadn't been sick, comma, she would have gone to school. If she hadn't been sick, she would have gone to school. But she was sick, and so she didn't go to school. So remember that simple past here, affirmative, becomes past perfect, negative. And simple past, negative, becomes conditional perfect, affirmative. This is always the rule. Let's look at sentence 2. He studied hard and smart. He obtained top grades. Of course, if you look at the sentence, you will notice that this part of the sentence actually is the effect. Because how did he manage to get or to obtain top grades? Because he studied hard and smart. We didn't use here because or as, but if you look at the two sentences, you can see that this is the cause and this is the effect. This one led to this one. Now, if again he, remember, we have simple past affirmative, it becomes past perfect negative. If he hadn't studied hard and smart, comma, he wouldn't have obtained top grades. If he hadn't studied hard and smart, he wouldn't have obtained top grades. Now let's look at sentence 3. They stayed at home because they were forced to. Someone who didn't stay at home. Now here we put if in the middle. It's a possibility. Sometimes you can use it here or here, but whether here or here, you have just to follow the rule and respect the rule. So we see that if is always followed by the cause, the clause which contains the cause. If it's hard for you, better start from here and then finish here. So they stayed at home. Why? Because they were forced to. So if they hadn't been forced to, look here, they wouldn't have stayed at home. Just put full stop here. Now, The sentence looks like this. They wouldn't have stayed at home if they hadn't been forced to. So as you see, it's just the same. If they hadn't been forced to, they wouldn't have stayed at home. So just as simple as that. Now let's look at sentence 4. It rained heavily, it means rained a lot, or cats and dogs. What happened? Therefore, we couldn't finish the match. If you look here, there is the modal couldn't. So this was the cause, and this is the effect. Of course, if plus cause. If it hadn't rained heavily, comma, because there is the model couldn't here, we keep it here. So no need to say wouldn't. So it would. So you keep could. So negative becomes affirmative. So we could have finished the match. You see, it's a matter of ability, you know. We weren't able to finish the match, so keep it. We could have finished the match, but here we have negative, here it becomes affirmative. So let's recapitulate. In conditional type 3, we speak about actions or events or courses of actions which didn't happen because something else didn't happen. Usually, at the present, we fancy, we hypothesize, we try to imagine what would have happened if some other thing had happened. For example, she didn't go to school as she was sick. This is finished. This is what happened. She didn't go to school, she was sick, right? Now we say, if she hadn't been sick, she would have gone to school. We try to imagine what would have happened if she hadn't been sick. She would have gone to school, but she was sick, and therefore she didn't go to school. The same thing in science too. He studied hard and smart. What happened as a result of that? He obtained top grades. Now let's say, imagine again, what would have happened if he hadn't worked hard and smart? Of course, he wouldn't have got top grades. But because he worked hard, he got top grades. They stayed at home because they were forced to. Well, imagine this. If they hadn't been forced to, would they have stayed at home? Of course not. So they wouldn't have stayed at home if they hadn't been forced to. For it rained heavily. As a result or as a consequence, we couldn't finish the match. Now let's again try to imagine what would have happened if it hadn't rained heavily. If it hadn't rained heavily, of course, we could have finished the match. But in reality, we couldn't finish the match. Why? Simply because it rained heavily. That's it, guys.